I remember I had an 1110.
Yeah.
And the ringtone was... Dun, dun, dun,
We
dun,
used to
dun,
dance to the...
dun,
Yes.
dun, dun. And then do you know what I would do? Because I was so excited about having a mobile phone, sometimes I would call myself.
Do you remember the song by Chimbetu with the 5110, I think, when he was dancing and
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Connected Stories. And this is your home for fun and tech and all things lifestyle. And of course, proudly brought to you by the Inspired Network. That's Econet Wireless. And so today we'll be talking about mobile phones. That should be very interesting. But before we get into that, I'd like to welcome our guest, Willard Muzayeni. Willard is a tech expert. He is invested in AI, cybersecurity. He is a digital security advocate. First time I'm hearing that. Welcome, Willard. How are you doing?
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for having me. What an introduction, man.
He's our tech evangelist. We'll be talking to him in a bit. But for now, takamupinda muma streets. Phone mnaifarira?
Yes, handifara.
Zvokutoti kana masumuka makwenda pakati phone yangu jimunhu.
Yes, and phone yangu ndinayo.
Baba wangu phone munotora nguva yakareba sei ingori pa position. Musina kuibata mangoitarisa.
It's like 10 minutes and below.
Chate?
Yes.
10 minutes hadzipfuuri musina kubata phone.
Pfuura unless kana iri pacharge.
Phone unoitsveta kwenguva yakareba sei. Usati waibata usina kuibata usina basa rauri kuita. Wangoiza zvako wangoleza.
Ndisina basa randiri kuita, foni inenge itori padhuze pangu zvakanyanya. Zvekuti ndogona kutotadza kuigadzika pasi kana pasina chimwe chandidisturba panguva iyoyo. Totora time zvekuti ndozoisiya kamoto watopera ndauda unoibairira.
Iyo yega yati ceasefire.
Yeah.
Foni inotombowa nomukana wekungoiswawo pasi zvayo nzi handina hangu zvandiri kuita ndakangotiriko zvangu makumbo angu asi rega ndingosiya foni pasi.
Yangu ndogara ndiri nayo pesi pandinga ndiri.
Munenge muchida kuita seiko baba mune muchitari seiko?
Dzikokuva ndinobhonawo mavhidhiyo kuchechi dzingo dzikachiitika mukati menyikawo chete chete.
So Willard, technology must play a very big part and a very big role in your life. Tell us more about your journey, how you started and where you built the interest from.
Thanks, Nikki, once again. It's been a very interesting journey. Where did I start? From college, yeah, up until I got my master's, and now I've had a lot of consultations for big tech companies as well. But the journey has been quite interesting, from being a computer science student and to being now one of the most sought after tech evangelists in our local Zimbabwe.
You know, something interesting is that when we were growing up, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a lawyer. Did you see technology playing that much of a role in your life? Where did you ignite that interest? At which stage? Was it primary school? Was it high school?
Funny enough, I actually wanted to be a doctor. I mean, everyone wanted to be a doctor back then. But then what happened is, I think at the point of applying for a place at uni, that's when I discovered that there was this other new program that had just been introduced called computer science, and it caught my attention. So I decided to invest my time in it, and I haven't regretted ever since. So that was how actually I started. It was at uni. That's when I started to play around with computers, and wow, like I said, it's been a tremendous journey and a wonderful one.
What was your first mobile phone? And how old were you when you had your first mobile phone?
Yeah, you're going to make me look like I'm ancient. But anyway, so my very first mobile phone was a hand down from my dad. It was a Nokia N95, those ones that would slide. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. I really loved that phone. Then the very first one that I bought for myself was a C2, I think. Yeah, it was a C2 phone in my button, like Yembe. But yeah, that was one of the first phones that I had. I think I was about 20, 21. I'm not quite sure.
That's when you had your first phone.
Yes, Nikki. Yes, indeed.
Goodness. I remember I had an 1110.
Yeah.
and the ringtone was dun, dun, dun,
We
dun,
used to
dun,
dance to the
dun,
yes.
dun. And then do you know what I would do? Because I was so excited about having a mobile phone, sometimes I would call myself.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd use someone else's phone to call me, or I'll just play the ringtone just to celebrate.
Yeah.
And look, we have moved
Yeah.
miles and bounds now when we talk about technology.
Do you remember the song by Chimbetu with the 5110, I think, when he was dancing and
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! And you know, one of the things that I have realized is that there was a time when your cell phone was something to celebrate.
Yes.
And now when you look at it, you've got children who are 3 years old. I was reading an article about children in Japan who are using their smartphones as study guides and just learning simple things. Now we've got Cocomelon. There's so many things now. Yeah. So I'm using my phone. It's like a handbag now.
Yeah.
You're making transactions using your smartphone. You are storing pictures, it's movies, it's music. There's a lot. And there are some critical aspects of using a phone that one should consider. It's not just storing numbers. Out of interest, how many numbers do you know in your phone?
By head?
Yes.
Just one.
That's a clever answer, and I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. Correct. That one. You know what? Since the first phone, I stopped memorizing phone numbers because they're just too many. Yes, 10 years back, I would have 5, 10 really available for me to, give out. But now, it's just that one, my next of kin.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What are you using your phone for?
Pretty much everything.
Talk to me.
Right? Online shopping, as a guide for learning. Literally everything that I do is hinged on my mobile phone. So, like, the first thing that I do when I wake up is I look at my socials, I look at my emails, and then if I'm looking for guidelines in terms of the weather, that's where I go to. So my phone becomes my pocket partner. So I use my phone, like I said, for literally everything and anything.
So, Willard, as a tech expert, as our tech evangelist, how long would you go without your phone? You don't have your phone, we'll take it away from you for how long?
Not long. At most, probably a day. Yeah. I can fast those many hours without a day. But that would take me back into the Stone Age. So I think one day, 24 hours to be precise.
When you look at your efficiency, how much of the progress that you make in a day depends on your device? And when you look at your device, what are the aspects of whatever content is in your smartphone allow you to function better?
Like I said, what I have at the beginning of the day is my phone. And at the end of the day, again, my phone, which means that becomes my pocket buddy. It helps me do pretty much everything. So I would say 90% of the work that I do, whether it's at my job or even my own personal stuff, is reliant on my phone. Now with the many apps that we have, I'm more of an app hoarder where you have so many apps that do so many things. Like if it's about transacting, I have an app for that. If it's about the creative stuff, I have an app that creates videos on my phone. So that percentage then goes even higher when I'm doing things after, I wind down, because I'm literally on the phone doing, my stuff.
Well, this is Connected Stories, and we went onto the streets and talked to a few people about smartphones. Watch this. Tsitsi, kana ukanzi wapinda mushop, kana wanzitenga phone nasi. Kana utongo taenda pa iko ni shop akazara mafoni iko ni shopu. Unoda phone yakaita seiwo. Unoda phone inoita basa ripi futi. Unongone zvimwe zvinhu zvaunoita. Saka zoti unoconsider chi kuti ai ndoda phone inoita zvakati inenge yakadai.
Chekutanga ndinoda foni inobata network zvakanaka. Ichibata network zvakanaka ndinoda foni ine battery rinochengeta moto. Battery richichengeta moto ndoda foni inopinda ma-applications andotarisira akafanana na WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok kunyanya.
Alright, nasi nino na Dion ane don't tenga phone. Chii chaunofarira pafoni chaunotarisa kuti ini ndoda foni because ini chakati.
Ndoda kamera kainonyatso foni ine kamera inonyatsotora koma
Vachigwara makasimba?
Tiripo makasimbawo.
Tiripo isu?
Tiripo.
Mune foni yamunoshandisa?
Wongo.
Foni pamakaitenga chii chamakaisarudzi?
Foni ndakaisarudzira kuti ndingokwanisa kuti taura nevana.
Nevana?
Nevana nehama neshamwari.
Michelle, zviri kufamba?
Zviri kufara.
Michelle, foni yako unoitemba?
Andoitemba.
Foni yako unoida?
Andoida.
Ikawira mvura unonotenga ipi?
Jesus. Ikawira mvura ndinda kundomaira kunana iPhone.
Yeah?
Kunana iPhone.
Ndo yawakufunga nezvayo?
Ndo yandakufunga nezvayo.
Vamene ndikubvunza kana iwe uri kusarudza phone. What are you looking for?
Inangu is for me. Ndoda foni yekuti kana ndiri paGoogle ndorova Google, WhatsApp dzangu, Facebook. Isinganesi isingati moto 2 minutes yapera. Because inangu pafoni ngopanga.
I'm going to walk into, say, an e-connect shop, and I want to buy a device. What are the must-have aspects of a smartphone that I must look into and that I must use to decide which device I will buy?
Okay. So when you introduced me, you said I'm a tech evangelist and a secret guy. So indeed, I try to look for a phone that, according to reviews, would be secure in terms of the latest software itself that is running on it, whether it's an Android application phone or even an iOS phone. That's number one. Number two, memory, because I want to be able to capture events, memories, and keep them there in my phone before I then take them to the cloud. Number three, obviously, the camera. We're now in the era where everything has to be Insta ready and Insta perfect. So I need a camera that has the best pixels in terms of the camera. And then also in terms of the memory, it has to be up there. And I want it to be first gen, like the next big thing. And I want a phone that is able to service me for the next 2 or 3 years. So your storage also comes into play. So I look at a lot of those things. But mainly it's about a phone that captures my heart, even look and feel itself.
There are people who would say, phone aina basa. Adults will say, chero phone andina, it's okay. Andina pressure ni phone, it's okay. You are phone ere. What's your take on that?
So it's good that you've mentioned that a lot of the things that you're doing is now anchored on the mobile phones. Our kids, our parents as well. Yes, the baby boomers, they will say, I just want a phone that calls. I think phones are different things to different people, like you've rightfully said. When I look at my dad or my sekuru, all they just want to do is to make calls. And they don't mind if it's a feature phone, Kambudzi, kame. But for some of us, we want the most out of the phones that we have. So we lean towards mostly the smartphones.
Yeah.
The latest smartphones for that matter, because of the fact that they would have been optimized, that have more storage and so forth. So phones are different things to different people. You're right.
So something very interesting is you look at the different generations. It is noted that Generation Alpha, that's I think that's the present generation now. They seem to have an inclination towards technology. They're overly dependent on technology. And vis-a-vis possibly Generation X, the laid-back Madara, really, they don't have any pressure.
Yeah.
Which generation do you think is thriving more? And we went onto the streets, we talked about relationships, that will come in this program.
Yeah.
But which generation is thriving more, in your opinion, as a result of technology, and which one had lost out?
So I'd say maybe picking up from the millennials. Yeah. That generation, I think, benefited when the tech revolution started. And then that with Generation Z and your Alpha, like you've mentioned. So anyone really 40 and under has benefited from this technological revolution. And if you now compare the millennials and the new generation, number 2K, you can't keep up with them. Those guys are always on their phones. They're always on their missions. So they are taking technology to the next stage. And when we were growing up, we didn't have these tech gadgets. We didn't have any of these gadgets with us. But the good thing is our kids, the first thing that we give them when they're growing up is a tablet. So they are benefiting from these technological advancements more than any other generation that has ever existed. And it's now incumbent upon them as well to train the other generations like Anamdara and Asekuru, because they're the ones who then install the WhatsApps, who then take Anasekuru through the photos. If you want to do, they're now doing challenges with Anamadara. So they have, I think, taken mobile telephones to another level. Something that can never be measured by another generation.
Talking about generations.
Yeah.
There was the 2G compatible mobile phone.
Yeah.
That would be your Kambudzi.
Yes, the man.
And then we are now talking about 5G. And I remember that when we were moving around, actually, when 5G was launched in Zimbabwe, Econet Wireless was the first network to introduce 5G. But you see, we talk about 5G, yet many do not understand what 5G does.
Yeah.
Is there a point where you could say somebody is underutilizing their phone?
Definitely. So, like you mentioned, with any of these Gs, for lack of a better word, it comes with speed, it comes with better performance.
Maybe take us through in detail. 2G, 4G, 5G.
Okay. So I'll start from the 4G, which is probably LTE, what everyone else is using right now, predominantly in Zimbabwe, and which is probably what the other service providers are also catching up to. So with that, you are able to have better speeds in terms of internet. You also have better optimized, conversations in everything that you do with regards to that particular gadget. So in terms of your speed, in terms of your latency, 4G are quite better. So connectivity-wise, 4G is up there. But 5G now takes it a notch higher, because what you're experiencing with 4G, you now have it at probably 5 times more in terms of the speed. So with each G that we're adding up, we are adding the speeds, we're adding the performance, that you're improving the performance, and we're having more connectivity around everything that you use. So if you have a phone that can do both 4G and 5G, I would recommend that you just switch on to 5G if you're in an area that supports that, because obviously your speeds will be faster, and also in terms of performance, you cannot compare that with another Gs.
One of the things that I have been told you do is that you help to empower people by teaching them how to utilize their phones.
Yeah.
And something that is very interesting is that it seems as if people underutilize their phone.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm one of your clients. How would you help me to utilize my phone in the best way?
So for starters, I think there is a syndrome that is quite prevalent amongst users of any phones. Number one, people just flood their phones with pictures, videos, or files, or even apps. Like I referred to them earlier as app hoarding.
But you understand that we had BBM at some point, we had Viber at some point. What has changed?
That was 1942 when you needed floppy disks. This is the 2024, the 21st century, where pretty much everything is reliant on how best you use your phones. How optimized is your phone usage? So for starters, number one, how you make do with the space that's on your phone is quite important. So you can't have apps that are just running in the background, for instance, chewing up your RAM, chewing up your space, and at the end of the day, you're complaining about space.
You've got to take me through this. How am I blocking?
Okay, depending on the type of phone that you're using, you definitely need to go to your storage settings and make sure that you block any applications that are running in the background. That will help you to also, save on your data.
Is my phone giving me a summary of this?
Yes, you can do that. There are now, settings in any phone that help you with your digital well-being, number one, as well as how much you're using in terms of your space, in terms of your RAM, in terms of even your memory and so forth. So it will even tell you about your screen time. How much of your day are you spending on your phone, and which app are you using the most? All of that is now available and is part of your phone right now as we speak. So in terms of the storage, like I said, you need to be able to make sure that you also take care of that. Because if your applications are running in the background and simply just downloading updates and so forth. Number one, your data is being chewed, like I said. Number two, your storage is also depleting. So some of these applications, we don't really use them. And people end up having what I refer to as app fatigue, where you just have a lot of applications. And before you know it, you're having push notifications left, right, and center. And
My
that
goodness.
gives you a lot of stress.
You've got to slow down. Push notifications.
Yes.
Kondebi.
Kupushana. you know those notifications that you get every time, like if it's an email, they go like ding, or even a message.
I don't need that.
Not all push notifications are necessary. You only need to make sure that you receive the ones that you want. You can't be receiving push notifications for every comment that you get for a post that you replied to 10 years ago or 5 months ago. You're just flooding your phone with unnecessary content and unnecessary notifications. If it's about something that is very important to you, then yes, you can allow such notifications to be a part of your dashboard or ashtray. Yeah.
Now, I've got my mobile phone here. You're saying to me that I need to start clearing out my images. You continue to talk about pictures.
Yeah.
Is duplicate pictures? I've seen something like that in the phone. What is wrong with having a lot of things on the phone?
So
what is wrong with having conversations from 2015? What is wrong with having images from 2012 in my phone?
Yeah. So the only problem with that is, okay, let me ask you a question. Do you still have your clothes from when you were in Form 2?
I can't fit.
Exactly. There are certain things
I
that
thought you were gonna
belong
be
to the there are certain things that belong in the trash bin. There are certain things that do not belong on your phone. Number one, if I'm talking about things that are not necessary, for instance, when you're conversing on any of these applications, whether it's WhatsApp or any of the over-the-top applications like your, like WhatsApp, like I said, what it means that you're sometimes downloading images as they come in, sometimes images that you don't even need. If it's an email, sometimes there's an attachment. If it's YouTube, you're also downloading so that you can watch later. If it's anything really, you're downloading content and saving it on your local phone. So what that does is, just like any gadget, your phones also have a memory size. So you're filling up that memory. And before you know it, you no longer can now do certain things like downloading a certain movie or even streaming some of your movies because the memory part has been chewed up, has been taken up. I'll give you a good example. If you put, let's say you have a 4x4 square room and you're putting in things, it will fill up eventually. And what will happen when you want to put in that beautiful sofa of yours? You can't. You don't have space. Yeah. So some of those things, junk house. You throw them away.
Now, when you look at just how does your storage affect speeds, efficiency of the phone itself? I mean, what is the use of having a 1 terabyte memory if I can't store as much as I want?
1 terabyte memory. Wow, I would want such a phone.
Explain the flex for me. How does it work?
Okay, so I'll answer your question with an example. Let's say you're driving to Mtare in a bus, and that bus has 2 passengers. That bus has the capacity to drive maybe at 80 kilometers per hour, or even 100, or even 120. Let's add a couple of other people there, and then it's going uphill. The speeds will eventually not be as fast because there are many people. So it's the same thing with even your gadgets. When you have a lot of that space, so you've got the internal memory that is part of your phone that you use up first. And then you've got the memory that helps with your performance. So part of that internal space is sometimes allocated to your internal memory. So once that internal local space is chewed up, we go into that RAM memory. And if you have low RAM memory, means your laptop or your phone will be very slow. So memory and speed are also very tight. 699, different mothers, but yeah, same house.
Now, you were talking about apps also earlier on. And one thing that I've realized when we then look at how people are not aware of how to use their phones is that even how we use apps, some of the most common apps when we moved on the streets, WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, obviously you need to transact, so probably your Eco Cash app you need to have it because you want to buy, you want to receive money, etc. And then someone will tell you that I'm paying for someone to install WhatsApp on my phone. I'm telling you. So when we talk about utilization of smartphones, there are some people who are really in the dark.
Yeah, Sagatsuta Mariba Town. I'm gonna fire my manager after this one. But here's one thing. Right now, I think where we are right now as a nation, you don't really need anyone to install any of those over-the-top, software or applications like your WhatsApp. You can literally do that on your own. All you just need is your phone and your phone number. I'm sure any of the MNOs can do that for you. You can do it even in the comfort of your home. There's really no need for someone else to be charging you to install applications. Like I said, remember earlier on that's why you have the new generation teaching the older generation how to do certain things. I think probably such platforms like this one are quite important to also teach people how to do certain things on their own, like the self-service type of setup. Yeah.
So tech support has become a big thing. And one would wonder how, and let me ask you as a tech expert, how would you go about your business without a laptop? How do you think the community would go about their business without their phones, without their digital devices?
We'll go back to the Stone Age. Yeah, back to cold calling, printers and newspapers, and doing physical workshops. All those things that we do in the traditional media space. So, what technology has done is it has decentralized the need to be, dealing with different people. Everything is now in your phone, on your laptop, in one place. So a day or an hour or even a week without these gadgets, it's a lot of downtime. That's time that we'll never recover. Hey, it's like us. Although there's an upside. Yeah, the upside is that we get to connect more on a human level. Human-to-human interactions is quite important because I think that's one thing that we don't get to talk about even in this tech era. The fact that we are so glued on our mobile phones or our smart tablets that we forget that we also need to take care of our digital well-being. So a lot of people go down, zombie scrolling, and then they forget that they also need to take care of their digital well-being. There's what we refer to as digital detox, where you put aside your screens and just concentrate on you and the human-to-human interactions.
Is it necessary? At what point do you then realize I need a digital detox? A DD, let's call it a DD.
DD. I think pretty much every day. Hey, you know what normally people do?
Willard.
Yeah.
Willard. Every day.
Every day.
How so?
You see, I'm putting on spectacles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the reasons why people end up wearing, spectacles is because they're so used to scrolling down on their laptops, and that blue light is not that friendly. So you need also to have downtime, that you don't just look at your screens, because not only will it increase the levels of insomnia, but it also increase the levels of depression. There are people who cannot live without checking their phones. Like the notifications.
This is deep.
Let me preach.
Let them know. Let them know.
So, yeah, I think Tanga Matota tied that. Tanga Famba.
Evangelist.
Yeah. So there are many people who suffer from depression because of the fact that they cannot do without their phones. So, there are people who just do doom scrolling. News, and before they know it, they're down that rabbit hole, they're deep in it for no apparent reason. And before you know it again, you don't have sleep and you're having health issues. So you need to be able to set aside time to also just have that human interaction. Like I said, phones and these gadgets are good for connection. They're good for relationship, but they need to be more directed. You need to be conscious about how you use them and how you also reserve the time to be with other people. The human touch is important.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
Because we were on the streets.
Okay.
And we're talking about relationships.
Okay. That should be
with
interesting.
reference to your smartphone.
Excellent.
Watch this one.
Okay.
Pane vanhu vanga vachitaura ngema relationships kuti mafoni aya ari kutigonera vamwe vachiti ari kutiparira imi muri kupaona sei?
Ndinoona kwandiri inini anotigonera mafoni. Anotigonera.
Sei muchidaro?
Nokuti ndinowana information nenguva.
Muri kuona kunge mafoni ari kusimbisa relationship kana kuti mafoni anotaura nemaproblems avo?
Aiwa, ini foni haina problem.
Sure.
Foni
Zvokuti munotogona kupa munhu foni yenyu?
murume wangu ndogona kumupa si yakandibata noti inondizonditisa stress murume.
Iye anamboitarisira tiri kuwe. Wagara wangu eingwarira musikana.
Nekuti inini ndinozobatikana nayo foni yake. Ndakuona I love you baby.
Ko kana iri yako message yangu ichiri mudrafts?
Aiwa.
Dzangu
namba ndodziziva. Namba dzangu ndodziziva.
Ainenge chiri madrafts. Azofonerwawo nemwe munhu atori achitoda kutotumidzira. Hausi kumutemba?
Ndimutembe.
Nekuti murume.
Lazima truck driver. Saka ndimutembe.
Mafoni aya muri kuaona sei nenyaya yemarelationships? Mafoni ari kutibatsira kuti marelationships edu asimbe. Mafoni uri kuaona seiwo?
Ya, inini ndiri kumba kwangu foni inondibatsira kuti relationship isimbe because communication kana titori zvinotangira ivo vari kubasa, ini ndiri kumba pamwe ndiri kubasa kwangu kukadhiri kangu, tichitokomunicata wadini asi kwako kuri kufaya here titobvunzana zvakawanda ipapo. Saka even kana tikazosangana kumba tinenge tagara tichiwirirana.
Pane munhu anga achitaura ranzi mafoni anogona kunge ane danger marelationships. Mafoni ari kutibatsira, ari kusimbisa, ari kusimudzira, ari kuzvona sei?
Relationships ka ini hakundononge it depends newe munhu wacho kuti uda zvipi. Because kumwe kuma-relationships munogona ngokutsvaga online or something like that.
Kutsvaga online nje?
Vamwe vanotsvaga ma-relationship online.
Iwe?
Iwe. But isiyo daritsvage online. Ndakuita zvema-relationships online pakundotota neface wangu. I think chat. Kana zvinhu zvekutondibhenefita online WhatsApp, I mean magoogle watoto ndeitoito dzangu dzebasa kuti ndidai ndichinanganisa.
Uchinanganisa?
Zvema-relationships handinyanyi kuziya
nezvazvo.
Handinei nazvo pafoni yangu ini ndeyebasa.
And so there you go. On the streets, we're talking about relationships and the smartphone. What's your take on that?
Interesting sentiments coming from the audience there. My truck driver, tough guys. I feel for my brother there. But I think they have important points that they're trying to put out. There was one element that I picked from that, the issue of privacy and ethics when it comes to mobile phone usage.
Privacy and ethics in relationships in the home, in the workspace. Where are we aligning this?
Both. Though there's a thin line here these days. Some people carry their work home, but I think that's something that we can discuss later. So in terms of the space, in terms of the privacy, your phone as well needs to be private enough. I'm not saying hide it from your partner or anything, but it's up to you. That's something that I cannot really, talk more about. But I'm saying privacy in terms of who accesses your phone. Some people just leave their phones unattended without any pin. Two-factor authentication. In this day and age, I can literally use your phone to make payments. That's where your mobile wallets are.
What is that again?
People just leave their phones without any two-factor authentication mechanism in place. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when someone wants to use a phone for transacting, they either put in their PIN and another secondary way of authenticating that particular transaction. So we refer to that as two-factor authentication. So most people don't have that. Okay, I'll bring it closer home. Most influencers in Zimbabwe, I think you've seen a lot of the people who are influencers complaining about their accounts being hacked and so forth.
Yes.
The main reason is they don't have two-factor authentication. A simple thing as two-factor authentication. Someone just has access into one of their channels or one of their emails or one of their phone numbers, or a relative really was hacked, maybe their WhatsApp was hacked, and then that person has access to your phone number. And the next thing that they're doing is they're saying, can you give me this code that has been sent to your phone number? And before you know it, you're the next victim. So two-factor authentication helps you. It gives you like a layer of protection. And that's one thing that I think we also need to talk about. that emanates from what the lady was saying about, ethics and privacy. Yeah.
Are there boundaries as far as the smartphone is concerned?
There should be boundaries. Okay. There's a term that I use. I call it fabbing, FHUBBING, which is when people pretend to be busy on their phone, but in essence they're just snubbing you. It normally happens when people are at family gatherings and so forth. They just don't want to give you that attention. So people have a tendency of just going on their phones and pretending that they are busy. So what happens is, if you have a situation where in the home or at the workplace, people are not concentrating, or most of the time they're on their phones, it also has negative effects. So there has to be limits in terms of how people then use their gadgets as well. That personal discipline is supposed to be there. You can't be scrolling on your phone when you're at the dentist. It's no guruma.
How private is private, Willard?
Private has to be private, like really private. Especially in this era where a lot can happen. You never can really trust anyone. There are people who can take photos with your phone and post with your accounts. So if you're not able to protect some of these very private spaces that you are always found, then you are exposing yourself to risk. How many cases have you had in the newspapers or on the TV or even on social media where the spouse ended up, using the phone of the other partner to leak certain information, in the public space. So private has to be private. I'm happy that Zimbabwe as a nation is now taking strides and making strides rather to try and conscientize people and having some of these policies in place, like your Data Protection Act and so forth. It helps as well to keep people in check, because what you do with your phone has ripple effects even for you and the generation to come. Because
the
once
internet
it's
does
up
not
there,
forget.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah, once
There
it's
you
up
go.
there, it's there for good. Yeah.
You're big on cybersecurity. The most basic phone. Which security apps or measures should I put in place to make sure that my phone is secure?
Yeah, for starters, now there are biometric ways of protecting your phone or accessing your phone. You could use your fingerprint. You could use your face for getting into your phone. Number two, just a simple pin. I'm not very comfortable. Even the kids, when they want to play on the phone, they just simply access it. That's so dangerous. If that phone gets lost, imagine the damage that can happen. So you have not even made even the slightest of effort to secure your phone. So those are the first things. And then you also, like I said, you need to have two-factor authentication, especially on your transactional applications. You can't just have one. So if someone picks up your card, for instance, and then they decide to use that card to make transactions, your phone will be the secondary, authenticating application or even gadget. So you need to be able to have levels of protection for your transactions as they happen. So even the apps that you install, make sure that they're coming from reputable, places like your App Store, like your Play Store and so forth. Because if you're just accepting applications left, right and center, it means that you don't know how secure they are. And they could be, malicious, of malicious intent. Most people what they do is they find, especially in this era where people are streaming a lot, and most people do not want to subscribe to these premium applications, so they go to these third-party applications which are not really secure. But you cannot be getting that for free. It comes at a premium because, number one, they're serving you with unnecessary Trojan horses, which are malicious applications that can then
Is that what they refer to
influence.
as malware?
Yes, malware. Oh my goodness. Nikki has gone to school. I'm
You
so
see me,
happy.
you see me.
Welcome on board. You're hired. Yeah. So you could be installing malware unintentionally without you actually knowing that you're doing so. So always make sure that whatever application you are installing is also from a reputable source, and also that it's secure. Just read the reviews. Some of the games, some of the applications that you watch your games from are not really secure. So then the last one probably would be in terms of who accesses your phone. I think it's quite important that you also put guards in place. Not everyone who accesses your phone has the best intention. Yeah.
Would you recommend 3-star, 4-star recommendations or reviews?
For what exactly?
So here's something very interesting that I noted, and I believe that possibly someone is trying to hack me.
Okay.
Because I'll see messages like someone was trying to, or entered the pin, or were you the one who tried to, and it wasn't me. When you download an app, are there apps that are making sure that I am safe? Are there apps that are also watching out for my security? And so when I'm choosing an app also, am I going to look at the reviews?
Yes.
And if it's got 3 stars, would you recommend that?
See,
If it's got 4 stars,
Yeah.
would you recommend that?
These days we have apps that do review buying. So you also need to be on the lookout.
Really?
Exactly.
Really?
You need to be diligent in the digital space. Very diligent.
My goodness.
The same way you cannot trust your father telling you that you need to transfer him 5,000 right now because he's in a bit of a fix. Because that could be a hacker who has, gotten access to his phone. So you need to verify your sources. So when it comes to reviews, if it's coming from like Google Play Store, like I said, yes, then definitely it means that over time those have been moderated and they have been seen to be quite correct. But you can also look at the amount of 4s or 5-star reviews that are there. That will also give you an idea, especially the most recent ones. Don't just, go to all the reviews and say probably it's a 4-star review, but maybe some are from back then in the days. So the 4 or 5 stars, that's okay, that's fine. And also, if it's not recommended, you can also see from other third-party sites like Trust Pilot, which really talk about some of these things and in all earnest.
If I want to upgrade my phone,
Yeah.
I want to move on to the next level, what am I supposed to consider?
I think it depends on your needs. What do you normally use your phone for? But like I said earlier on, you need to consider the storage. The storage, because right now, we are now taking HD, 4K and 6K and now even 8K resolutions of videos and even your photos. So it means that with bigger resolutions, you also need bigger storage, greater storage. So you cannot have a 1 gigabyte phone trying to take 600 megabytes maybe photo, for instance, because you cannot take raw photos. So you need to consider the storage if you want to upgrade. Again, the camera is a good good one as well. Right now, if you don't have a good camera, you might as well throw your phone away. Yeah, because I'm not very one because like people look at the stove and like, yeah, that has better quality. Probably those other, yeah. So you also need to have something that captures good visuals, especially now that we're in the era of short form videos. You need to be able to use a phone that is ready to go on those platforms. And then also you need to look at, I know for some it's not a big issue, but you need to look at the overall feel, how the phone makes you feel. When you're holding on the phone.
Hold on, now you're talking lifestyle.
Yes, lifestyle,
now you're
definitely.
really, really bringing it down on lifestyle.
Yes, because, okay, let me use an example of one of the influencers who bought a car recently, and what he's doing these days is everywhere he goes, his keys are with him, and he makes sure people know that he's got these keys. It's I know there's keys, but it's how it makes the car. It's how it makes him feel. Your phone should be a status symbol. Your phone is something that should also tell the people that this guy is ahead of time. Technology-wise, you can't be coming to our meetings with your N95 in this day and age. Not only is it not supported. Yes, it was my first love. Yeah. Yeah. So you need to be able to have all those things in place when you're looking for an upgrade. The look and feel, the memory, the storage, and also just when you look at the phones that are there right now, which ones support the latest technologies like your 5G? Like we were speaking right now, you can't be going to buy a phone that now supports 3G, 2G when we are trying to go up 4, 5, 6G. Yeah, forward thinking is what we're looking for.
As the network evolves.
Exactly,
You
because
should
everyone
also
is
evolve.
moving towards that direction. So you also need to be doing that. Because I'm considering that the fact that you want to have that phone for the next year or so. So those advancements are coming through, and 5G is coming your way, or is already in your place or region, really. Yeah.
So before we round off,
Yeah.
I just want to tell you how I use my phone.
Okay.
And as a tech expert, I'd love for you to tell me if I'm too dependent, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, my phone gives me, at the end of the week rather, I get a report of how many hours on average I was
Your
online.
screen time, yes.
My screen time.
Yeah.
My phone to prepare my script for my work, to plan my meetings, to record. I've got some adverts that I recorded using my smartphone. Yeah. And to make transactions, obviously I've got the Eco Cash app. So, I'm just,
Yeah.
And more recently, after finding out about the Econet, my Econet app,
Yeah.
I kind of look at the data and sometimes I'm like, really? Oh, girl, okay, you're using this app a bit too much. So maybe you want to lessen
Tone down on that one, yeah?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But with what I'm telling you now, and obviously for pictures and videos and streaming, and I'm also in the entertainment sector, so a lot of the times I'm also looking at what's happening on social media. I would definitely be on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube and Netflix. Do I need to detox?
Yes. I think after the show, we need to help you.
I am Nikki and I'm an addict.
Yeah, I think we need an anonymous, But anyway, just out of interest, how many hours do you spend on your phone?
The honest
on
truth,
average?
from my reports, 8.
That's pretty much the whole day.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So you need to detox.
Okay.
Yeah, every day. And then you need to make a conscious effort about it. I think we are all guilty of that, Nikki. Don't feel bad, because even it happens to the best of us. Like I said, you need to make a conscious decision to say, after these hours, I definitely do not need my phone on me or with me, because some actually need the phones to go to sleep. And the music will be playing in the background. They don't even stop it. And and you know how it is with the technology. Let's say you're running a music application and you haven't paid for the premium version. And then before you know it, you're being served with ads, or the content continues to play up until you get to things that don't really need to be in your ears. Remember what I said about doom scrolling?
Yes.
Apps do that for you as well in the background. So you find that most people end up suffering from depression and anxiety, and they don't even know where it's coming from. And yet it's coming from your blue screen, it's coming from even the phone that you're using. So please take time and take good care of your digital well-being, guys.
Are there self-care products that I should take note of as a smartphone user?
Yeah, so most phones do come with inbuilt applications for that these days. If it's Android already has that. If it's iOS, already has that as well. So you can make use of those too. Really, any phone has those things. Even your mental well-being, even it tells you how much time you've spent. Like you're just mentioning that your phone tells you how much screen time you've had. So you also need to make use of those and to take heed.
Ndotakura vanhu kaini. Mumwe munhu anongonditisha mari. Ndoda kuenda kuna Van Pra, ndakamira pana.
Otoziva kuti wakuda ku location?
Maps. Kana anga achifona ariko kundoti isa location.
Ndosvika. Zvichireva kuti kana usina data.
Ma1.
Mari yabuda.
Ndonzwa nekufona nchiti saka kana ndasvika apa ndotena chi.
Ndapa Kensington.
Ndapa Kensington. Saka anenge ari ma1.
Ovomboti ndapa na bases ndarama rasika.
Dzokai.
Muri kuita sei?
Ndonzi dzokai.
Muri kuita sei? Gogo rengo maswera.
Ndaswera sei zvenyu?
Ndaswera isu.
Ndaswera.
Nai gogo imi mune phone renyu.
Ndinayo.
Ezvinezvi munhu akati gogo muri kupi? Mamati ndiri pamashops pamachipisi. munobva ati nditumidzire location, munotumidzira?
Munogona pamashops pamachipisa nokuti pa
how muchishandisa foni? Muchishandisa foni
nongomuisira message
ko location.
aiwa kwete
Hamugona kutumidzira location.
nomuisira message
Mutumidzira message kana voice note?
ndotumidzira ndogona kuisa voice note
asi pakuzotumidzira location apa hamupo.
panzwisisa
tax ne-indrive zvese ya
Saka apa pakutakura vanhu apa zviro zvenyu kuti munoshandisa data zvinodhakwa zve.
ya data ndotoshanda zvemazuva ano kana pasina data hapana, because normally vanhu vazhinji vakutongosenzesa zvimaapp izvozvo kutsvaga mabasa kuti atsvage client, app ndiyo yakunyanya kushanda stereki.
Saka imimi zvichireva kuti kana munhu akatoti tumidzirai location haapachena.
ya ndomutumidzira.
So here's an instance. Someone will walk into an Econet shop, right? And you know what, in Econet shops, you've got different gadgets, right? And then someone will buy a smartphone at a very affordable price, right? But with that smartphone, that same individual cannot share a live location or current location.
It happens, eh? So I think comes to consumer education as well, as what you're trying to do now is Econet, I guess. It's a good starting point, like you said, where you also need to conscientize people on what's possible on their phones. You know, sharing a live location, people like what they use as the consumer are saying. People are used to saying, toilet, you know.
Mukashika mava matena left and itika. Muchana panika churu.
Yeah. But things are changing in Zimbabwe. A lot of buildings are being erected. And as a result, that way of directing a person might not be ideal. So we need to have more of these platforms where we talk about how people can then best use the features on their phones, such as sharing your live location.
So as you upgrade your phone, you're also upgrading your life. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm a businesswoman, and a lot of my business I'm conducting on my phone. How can businesses also make use of their smartphones to be more efficient? Service delivery, we're just getting out of customer service week. There's a lot happening on the market. How can I be more effective on the marketplace using my smartphone? As an individual and also as a business.
As a business, yeah. So I think in the marketplace, we are talking about mobile first approaches, where everything else that you do has to start from the mobile and then cascades into these other platforms and channels. Because everyone else has a mobile phone. Some don't have laptops, some don't have TVs, but at least at the very, at the basic level, everyone has a phone. So your phones can become the first touch point for your customers, for your consumers, whether it's through your SSD, whether it's through, your phone calls, whether it's through your over-the-top channels like your WhatsApp, or whether it's through even some of the messaging apps that we now have, your basic SMS messages, and now there is RCS. All of those channels can help your business to reach out to a demographic that you would never have reached without these mobile phones. So businesses can take advantage of the fact that in real time they can actually reach out to their consumers and actually push their products and services. Then on a personal level, people can actually make money from their phones. These days the chatbots that can take care of even buying and selling. People create groups even on social channels and they start buying and selling. Your phone can be a marketplace. So there are a lot of things that you can do with your phone, and you need to maybe experiment a bit with what's possible. Yeah.
Well, there you go. And so he is the tech evangelist. He will come through and will share information, get into the social aspects, and of course also look at how you can maximize in the marketplace, but also the best device that you need and what you need it for and how you utilize it. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Connected Stories, and would love to hear from you. So please make sure that you're active in the comment section. And we've got experts who come through and we share information on tech and lifestyle and, of course, fun stories that we'll get from the streets. Until next time, when we talk about the fair usage policy, thank you for joining us.